Back on, ladies and gentlemen, with a simple question that is this man, the Prime Minister of Canada, deliberately ignoring concrete terror proof? He talked about credible allegations. We are saying concrete terror proof or evidence about this man, Hardeep Nijjar, and the reason why. Mind this face and now have a look at this video. This video is dated the 27th of February 2017 when we put these pictures on CNN News 18. This is Hardeep Nijjar with an AK-47 in his hand, and he is there in the mountains in Canada training people to fire and how to fire AK-47s. This is the training camp running with banned weapon in Canada. On Canadian soil, you're not allowed to use or possess an AK-47 as per the Canadian law. This man is a proscribed terrorist in 2020. When we had this video, accessed this video, at that time, he had a red corner notice against him, an Interpol notice against him. There were calls for him to be handed over to authorities for multiple crimes and also for perpetrating terror on Indian soil. This man trained another terrorist who came to Indian soil, and recently, with the plan and the intent to harbor or to foment terror activities, target individuals, and he was perhaps stopped from actualizing his plans just in the nick of time because he was arrested by the authorities in India. Is Mr. Justin Trudeau ignoring this hard proof? That's the big question, and at what cost? Because even Captain Amrinder Singh said he reminded Justin Trudeau in 2018 about Hardeep Nijjar and nothing was done about it. Now, as this row continues to heat up and you have had Justin Trudeau trying to come down and play peace, trying to restore peace after saying we don't want to escalate matters. Well, you've just opened up the Pandora's box, and more is going to just tumble out in terms of concrete evidence, not just credible allegations, but concrete evidence that Canada has been a safe haven for secessionists, those who are attacking the sovereignty of Bharat. First claim, Canadian Intel Agency is also now claiming, and our group editor security, Manoj Gupta, getting us these details, that somebody within the Canadian intelligence system is also taking or walking Justin Trudeau up the garden path, whereas in terms of the facts of this matter and this entire K menace is concerned, the agency is feeding Trudeau wrong information. That's the first claim. Second claim, agents hired by the CSIS or the Canadian Intelligence Services are reportedly from Khalistani groups, and the CSIS is preparing reports and information on K agents and sends it to the Canadian Prime Minister. The fourth claim is that K leaders in Trudeau's government are actually reportedly blackmailing him because of certain other personal issues of corruption and others, and beyond those matters, personal matters, and he's being blackmailed. He's literally being held at gunpoint, and he's got no other way but to respond in the manner and behave in the manner that he is. That's the fourth claim, and this is by an insider. This is not our claim, it's an insider's claim which we have come in possession of. Trudeau pushed into a corner on diplomatic row by leaders who have clear Khalistani bent, and the claim is that the intel agency is covering up for any state crime perpetrated by Khalistani groups. The seventh claim that comes to the fore is that Nijjar is behind Ripudaman Singh's murder. Canada must come clean. Was Hardeep Nijjar not behind Ripudaman Singh's murder? Why is Ripudaman Singh's murder not irking Justin Trudeau, or the murder of a Baloch activist not irking Justin Trudeau and are getting him to speak and question about the ISI's activities on Canadian soil? Ripudaman's murder angered his supporters, who in turn killed Nijjar. This is a revenge killing that's happened. It's internecine. Nijjar's murder is a result of a gang war, and there is no role of the Indian government. That's what the claim is. Canadians are accusing Indian government only to turn Nijjar into a hero and perhaps milk an exact certain amount of political capital that Trudeau hopes or believes will perhaps resurrect his flailing campaign at this point. Via Group Editor Manoj Gupta, Group Editor Security Affairs Manoj Gupta, there is also more news. The nexus of Pakistan and its ISI and its involvement in trying to not just recruit, radicalize, and also send Khalistani terrorists onto Indian soil. K groups are allegedly funded by SI agents in Vancouver. Money reportedly taken in the name of immigration. K groups are using these funds for anti-India propaganda. Students reportedly are being used to spread this K propaganda. They're being lured with money and odd jobs and perhaps the promise of continuing to be able to stay on in Canada. Another snub is, and the old Canadians, those who were there for nearly 2 to 3 decades, are not part of this. This is of those largely born after 1984 or in the 90s. So these are the aspects that stand out. Let's go straight across to our guests. There is also involvement of these groups, Canadian entities who were there in Red Fort to try and vandalize and create all the ruckus there, and a lot of them turned out to be drug addicts. Let's go across to our guest. Ambassador Deepak Vora is with us, former diplomat. Adit Kothari, founder Indic Society, joining us from the UK. Puneet Sahni, activist, is with us, and Anand Ranganathan, author, says on this edition of The Right Stand. Puneet Sahni, first to you. Do you think India has overreacted, or do you think there's more to be done?
Namaste, Anand. Thank you for giving me space.
Namaste and Jai Hind to everybody.
And I'll give you a point that's actually, so I've been making the case at your channel that, this is compromise. And I will tell you something that will actually blow your minds. So, for example, this Nijjar, he's rejected because, he first says like fake torture by India, then, like fake marriage. And it's incredible he gets like citizenship. And I have actually taken out the video, dug out a photo of him where he's standing next to 3 decades back with one of the most dreaded terrorists of Khalistanis. His name is Hardeep Singh Nijjar. And the Khalistani wiki says he has been involved in like 24 really, really gruesome activities, and he's responsible for hundreds of murders. So how did this get citizenship? It actually shows the system is compromised. And I give you another example how it is compromised. In 2017, so this is, I'm telling you, just when this Nijjar got in 2017, IG of CRPF, his name is Tajinder Singh Bhullar. When he visited Canada, do you know what happened? They interrogated him for 2 days. And then they gave him a letter that, CRPF is involved in human rights activities and all these human rights abuses and genocide, and kicked him out of Canada. He was deported. Do you know this? In 2007, they were doing with the CRPF, and at the same time, they were giving to Khalistani, who has a record of, being next to these people who have killed hundreds of people in Punjab. So that's what I've been making. This Trudeau is first, ideologically committed to them, but also this entire system is being compromised by WSO. It is like a Muslim Brotherhood-like organization. And the only way move forward, we have to reduce the cost on us. We are not responsible for Canada. We have to inflict. But Canada cannot be improved very fast, and we have to ban WSO as soon as possible.
Known for your straight talk there, Puneet Sahni. There are others too, जो सीधी बात करते हैं, who are on the platform tonight. So let them say what they have to say, because मैं सुनना चाहता हूँ. Amazing to hear these perspectives. Ambassador Deepak Vora, sir, Namaste, Jai Hind. Your thoughts, sir. What should we do? Is our response overt, or have we just begun?
Thank you very much, sir. Always a pleasure to be on your channel and to listen to you. Sir, you are one of our best. I've heard what our young friend has to say. I cannot disagree with him. I know Canada well. I've served in the United States. This fellow Justin Trudeau is a strange character. When he arrived in New Delhi for the G20 summit, he was looking very constipated and unhappy. Apparently, his wife had just walked out on him. Plus, he was under all kinds of pressure. He's not his own master. Now, it's quite possible that he has suffered 2 bouts of COVID, and that induces what is called long COVID or encephalopathy, which is altered brain function. He looked completely blank when some of my colleagues in the Foreign Service spoke to him, like a buffoon, a permanent buffoon. That's what he is. Now, question you asked about this character Nijjar firing an AK-47. Let me tell you also, he got it on Amazon, sir. Amazon.Canada. That's where it's available. What kind of a joker is this character Trudeau? What kind of narrative is he trying to sell? When an Indian plane gets blown up, they take 20 years, even though their own courts say that all kinds of funny things were planned, etc. Canadian intelligence knew about it, but did nothing. Then, when Nijjar is eliminated by whoever, suddenly they swing into action, say, Nijjar, he should have got the Nobel Peace Prize, and why is this guy been eliminated? And there are credible allegations. What kind of term is that? Credible allegations? I have seen credible evidence, visual evidence of the fact that Trudeau is an ass. What does that mean? It's a credible allegation. of the potential that India would have been involved. The man has lost it. Obviously, he's not even drafted this because I believe he's been to school and to college. I don't know if he ever got a degree, but this kind of language is not what we use in diplomacy. Finally, sir, this man, because of his approach and attitude, I'm not just talking about India, he's managed to mess up his relationship with all the big powers. You remember he was captured on camera mocking the former American President Donald Trump. He has been hurling gratuitous abuse at Vladimir Putin. He screwed up his relationship with Russia. The Chinese fellow took this fellow's pants off in Bali, and now he's messed up his relationship with India. He is an equal opportunity offender. The sooner Canada gets rid of him, the better it'll be for Canada and for the world. Canada's system is so rotten that it should be discarded, sir. Canada should be called out.
Justin Trudeau's father was the Prime Minister of Canada when the Kanishk bombings happened, and they ignored those warnings outright. They ignored those warnings, and that bag suddenly passed through, an anonymous bag passes through a security check machine that fails at that particular time, and innocents died. And they did nothing about it. The Canadian Intelligence Services, Anand Ranganathan, we believe at that time erased audio recordings to showcase, to actually do away with concrete proof that the Indian intelligence agencies had submitted to them, and they also had it in their possession. So shocking. But this seems to run in the DNA of Canadian administration. Or is that too much of an excessive statement?
Just wanted to say that my new look is because I've just been to Guruvayur. So I give blessings from the Lord to all of you, sir.
Thank you, sir. You are the elder, and
I
those
surrendered my hair to the Lord Krishna.
Those blessings are always welcome. Yes, Anand Ranganathan, and then Adit Kothari. Yeah.
Yes, the DNA not only runs in the administration, unfortunately, it's in the family as well. In 1985, Anand, as you just said, Khalistanis blew up Air India Flight 182, killing 329 innocents. Miss Amarjeet Kaur, the widow of the ex-Indian Air Force and AI-182 pilot Captain Bhinder, SS Bhinder, claimed justice wasn't done. Our fight is ours alone, she said, crying. But she was right. All accused had walked free. And you know why? Because Trudeau's father refused to hand over AI-182 bombers, including the dreaded terrorist Parmar. And you know what his reason was? That India, quote, is not deferential enough to Her Majesty the Queen, unquote. This was his father. Fast forward to 2023 and we have Trudeau Jr. at the helm. But as you know, Anand, an apple never falls far from the tree. Justin Trudeau, just like his father did 3 decades ago, is kowtowing to Khalistani terrorists just to placate the increasingly influential vote bank. Honestly, Osama bin Laden should have taken up Canadian citizenship, because had he done so, he would still be alive, quite possibly lounging about in a villa in Ottawa, just off Sussex Drive, with his 5 wives and 24 children, munching pizzas, guzzling non-alcoholic cocktails, watching CBC report on Canadian and American governments expelling each other's diplomats in an angry tit-for-tat. And as for hypocrisy of Trudeau, he is the same guy, Anand, who congratulated America for killing al-Zawahiri. He said, quote, "Killing of Zawahiri is a step towards a safer world. Canada will keep working with our global partners to counter terror threats," unquote. But when it comes to someone that India has designated as a terrorist, someone who was heading a terror outfit, who bombed and assassinated innocents, then suddenly Trudeau enters into an apoplectic fit. And this despite the fact that Nijjar was in Canada for more than a decade before he obtained Canadian citizenship. How? India had repeatedly demanded his extradition and was repeatedly denied. Why? Why was Trudeau quiet, by the way, when ISI killed a Baluch activist? Let's face it, Trudeau is the Rahul Gandhi of Canada. Both are unabashed dynasts, both jump into issues without knowing an iota about them, and then both leave it to their dynasts, au pairs, to disentangle them from the ensuing mess. Forever with an eye on the vote bank, the Canadian Gandhi, much like his Chinese Gandhi counterpart here, revved up with a Kumkar bandana and kirpan by his hip for the Gurdwara run, like the temple run here. Earlier, Trudeau had displayed his monumental ignorance when he supported the anti-farm protest, without realizing that our farm bills, Anand, were all about giving the farmers a choice, like what Canadian farmers have. That's how progress and development happen, through evolution, Darwinian competition, through expunging monopolies and an overbearing state, through morally just capitalism. Trudeau has it in Canada. He didn't want it in India. But that's not what this is all about. Look, finally, just 1 minute. Trudeau, much to his own charging, is the fact that he is doing nothing to stop the funding of secessionist groups in Canada who want to foment trouble in India. Even Congress's Captain Amrinder and Manish Tiwari, whose own father was killed by Khalistani terrorists, were angry at Trudeau. Remember how the captain had refused to even meet Trudeau's Minister Sajjan for this very reason?
Yeah.
Yes, and now the attack on our temples, our embassies, and making of kill lists, the grisly tableau showing Khalistanis gunning down our ex-Prime Minister. And what does Trudeau do? Give patronizing sermons saying Canada stands for free speech. Rubbish. Our spine is now showing the true colors, and I'm very thankful for it.
It's only started showing those colors. That's what many believe, because we've just got news coming through, and then I'll come to you, Adit. Stepping up on its crackdown on Khalistani terrorist campaigns in our country, the National Investigation Agency has announced a cash reward of 10 lakh rupees each for information leading to the arrested of listed terrorists Harvinder Singh Sandhu alias Rinda, Lakhbir Singh Sandhu alias Landa, and for promoting terror activities of the Babbar Khalsa International. A cash reward of 5 lakh each has also been declared for 3 others. All 5 are wanted in NIA cases relating to Babbar Khalsa International terrorist activities aimed at disturbing Bharat's peace and communal harmony and spreading terror. So it's just slowly coming out as to what Bharat is going to do. Adit, somewhere do you think Justin Trudeau has just unshackled India? Because he shunned the diplomatic niceties and given India an opening. We had Ajit Doval meeting the Union Home Minister in Parliament today, so something's got to give soon.
Absolutely, there is not an iota of doubt. I mean, Justin Trudeau's diplomatic errors are probably going to be the bloop up of the century. He's probably going to be in a diplomatic oblivion of absolutely nowhere in the nearing time to come. But I personally think the way NIA and the MEA has gone about this, reacting to the action is definitely called for. But now I think we need to be more offensive about it. Like the NIA, what they have done with Rinda, Landa, Pattu, Satta and Yadda, more needs to be done, more credible action needs to be done and taken against known Khalistani operatives in Canada, in United Kingdom, in Australia and USA. All their properties need to be attached, their OCIs, their PIOs, their visas, all of them need to be revoked, because they've essentially not only become a menace for the Indian diaspora in all of these countries, but there was a report that was put out not so long ago by William Shawcroft in the United Kingdom for the Parliament. It was called the Prevent Report, which essentially says it wants the British Parliament that pro-Khalistani elements have become a threat to civil society in United Kingdom. So they're just not a threat to the Indian diaspora and the Indian missions and the High Commission and the infrastructure in United Kingdom, but they're also a threat to the civil society. So I think United Kingdom somewhere has learnt about this. They've taken some credible action to pull down, the Ofcom in Britain has taken down the Khalsa TV in October of 2022. But there more needs to be done. So I think reciprocity is the call for the day. And I think the way the Indian government is essentially going about this, I'm sure, we will get justice at the end of it all. But more needs to be spoken about why this credible allegations is such a bloop up. I mean, India has provided umpteen number of dossiers to the Canadian government of how feral and vicious these Khalistani gangs are, how they operate, including the Brother Keepers gang, which is essentially a self-sustaining drug cartel, which essentially funds the SFJ, which is one of the main terror organizations, creating upheaval in India. So, despite all of these dossiers being provided to them, they've taken absolutely no action. So this is why I think more action needs to be done, and India needs to come out and overtly talk about all of this in media, in academia, and galvanize that kind of information.
There is another poser who poses as a Sikh but is so far away from Sikhi, Puneet Sahni, who's now even threatening Indo-Hindus. He's an American citizen threatening Canadian Indo-Hindus. And he's deciding something on the 25th. Is that going to be the next point where we got to see what the Canadian administration does? Because they've not taken any action against somebody like that.
So, Anandji, a couple of points. So, he's a clown. But I just say, what you said earlier, most of these people are born after 90s. I'll give you is actually people who have not lived in India. So, for example, one of this, Harmeet Dillon, she's in Republican Party. And, she has never lived. And you just see the animus. And she's supporting all this Khalistanis. So people who have never lived in India and they get brainwashed in this Khalistanis Gurdwara, and then they speak all kinds of nonsense. So, she's a senior person in the Republican Party. And she's like, retweeting and answering to every lunatic Khalistani account. That is one thing. And I will just say, and really want to underline what Trump said, credible organization, I tell you. So the guy who gave the speech, I put the video, and this is before what the killings happened in Delhi. His name is Hardeep Singh Bagadi. He said, we will not rest till we kill 50,000 Hindus.
Wow.
One. Then he's the guy who put the bombs on the plane. And there was very credible testimony because, he used to abuse a single mother.
Yeah.
And he had taken, and he wanted to take his car to put the bombs. And she said, I'm afraid that this guy is going to kill me and my 2 children. And it was not an empty fear. They had killed another witness. And she gave the test, she gave it in writing. And she stood by her. The judge looked at her and he's like, yes, what she's saying is very credible. And this was, her timeline was verified by other sources,
Right.
2-3 independent sources that this has happened. But the judge threw it out because she said the witness is so terrified to testify in front of Bagadi. That's why we cannot accept this evidence.
What
And
a
that's
travesty.
why, that's how these bombers got away.
Now we have to put all these details out. This conversation should not end here, but I have to pause because we've run out of time on this edition of The Right Stand. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.